Inside Hitler's secret occult experiments. You might think you know Adolf Hitler as the architect of the 20th century's greatest conflict, the man behind the deaths of millions and the brutality of the Nazi regime. But what if I told you there'd kiss another portrait of this man, one that escaped traditional education and was buried in the margins of official biographies? A side where ancient symbols, secret rituals, and mind-bending theories collide with ruthless ambition. This isn't a tale of battles or treaties. It is a descent into the darkest corners of Nazi occultism, where superstition becomes a weapon of control and mystical beliefs feed into projects that defy the imagination. Imagine crossing the threshold of the Thule Society, the secret cradle of Nazism, walking through Himmler's ceremonial halls in Wewelsburg, and following expeditions that ventured across mountains and glaciers to find artifacts believed to reveal the ancestral origins of the Aryan race. Think of scientists trying to prove the existence of occult energies using pseudoscience, dispatching teams to Tibet, Iceland, and even Antarctica to locate portals said to connect our world to unknown dimensions. This is not just about obscure historical trivia. It's about understanding how myth and belief can shape catastrophic ideologies and justify horrors. As the story unfolds, you'll uncover experiments so disturbing they sound like they were pulled from a horror novel. Accounts of rituals, of flying discs powered by invisible forces, and even of sacrifices masked as medical research. Every piece of this puzzle reveals how the Third Reich wasn't just fighting for land, but for domination of the human spirit. If you are ready to face this shadowy labyrinth and uncover the mystical machinery behind a regime that sought to rule the world through more than just tanks, through symbols, spells, and fear, then stay close. You're about to discover the hidden face of the Third Reich. After this, you'll never see history the same way again, and you should fear what lies ahead. What do you know about Adolf Hitler? Maybe that he orchestrated the deaths of millions, that he led one of the most violent dictatorships in history, that he was obsessed with control and domination. But what almost no one talks about, at least not outside classified archives, is the other side of the Third Reich. A side immersed in ancient symbols, occult rituals, and ideas that veered dangerously close to the magical. This is the true story of how Hitler and his inner circle immersed themselves in the dark world of occultism, not out of mere superstition, but as part of a calculated plan to transform Germany into a mystical superpower. Get ready to learn about experiments they never told you about in school. The obsession began in the 1920s, even before Hitler took power. He was already deeply fascinated by Norse mythology, secret societies, and esoteric symbolism. He attended occultist gatherings in Munich and Vienna and read works by Helena Blavatsky and Guido von List, authors who believed in a spiritual master race connected to cosmic forces and forgotten powers. But this wasn't just personal curiosity. Hitler believed that Germany's success, political, cultural, and military, depended not just on physical might, but on gaining control over invisible forces. And that belief stayed with him until the very end. Still think it's all exaggerated? Consider this. The Nazi Party was literally born within a secret society, the Thule Society. Founded in post-WWI Germany, Thule fused nationalism, Aryan mythology, and occultist rituals. Its members believed that Aryans were descendants of a powerful ancient race known as Hyperboreans, who came from a lost continent in the Arctic. The swastika, the central symbol of Nazism, was taken directly from Thule beliefs, and several of the party's early members were initiated into its rituals. For them, conquering the world wasn't just about military victory, it was about restoring a severed connection with an ancient, transcendent power. But Hitler wasn't the only one who took this seriously. His right-hand man and the head of the SS, Heinrich Himmler, went even further, much further. Himmler transformed the SS into something beyond a paramilitary force. He envisioned it as an esoteric order, a new kind of spiritual knighthood, a modern resurrection of the Templars. And for that, he needed a temple. That temple became real in the form of Wewelsburg Castle, located in the heart of Germany. There, in chambers with rune-shaped floors and ceremonial altars, SS officers held symbolic purification rituals, pledged eternal loyalty, and participated in spiritual experiments. They studied astrology, numerology, and conducted archaeological missions in search of physical proof of the original Aryan race. Wewelsburg became the command center for a top-secret project called Ahnenerbe. Ahnenerbe, translated as Ancestral Heritage, was an organization created to scientifically prove the mythical origins of the Aryan people. But that was just the surface. In reality, Ahnenerbe conducted expeditions to Tibet, Iceland, the Caucasus, and even South America, searching for mystical relics, lost civilizations, and even portals to other dimensions. Yes, portals. Documents recovered after the war indicate that parts of the SS were investigating regions of high magnetic activity, and ancient legends about gateways to underground worlds, what we now call Agartha or the Hollow Earth theory. But perhaps the strangest and most science fiction-like element was something called the Vril Project. Inspired by the novel The Coming Race by Edward Bulwer Lytton, the project revolved around the idea of an invisible cosmic force called Vril. According to German mystics, Vril was the key to levitation, telepathy, healing, even mass destruction. It's believed that groups like the Vril Society and the Thule Society worked together with Nazi engineers to develop devices capable of channeling this energy for military and spiritual dominance. There are even unconfirmed reports suggesting the Nazis tested flying discs powered by Vril energy in secret bases in Antarctica. And speaking of Antarctica, this is where one of the most persistent and eerie theories begins. During the war, Nazi expeditions were reportedly sent to the South Pole. There, SS officers established a base called Neuschwabenland, where they allegedly built underground tunnels and bunkers for experiments and as a refuge for high-ranking Nazi elites. What makes this even stranger are post-war reports from Allied soldiers. They claim to have discovered signs of abnormal activity in the region, including missing vessels and unexplained aerial sightings. Some believe Antarctica held a link to the so-called ice gods, entities described in esoteric texts as guardians of ancient technology. Sounds insane? Maybe. But wartime documents confirm that the Nazi interest in Antarctica was very real and very active. Now let's move to the most disturbing part. There is evidence suggesting that some of these occult rituals involved in human sacrifices disguised as medical experiments. Prisoners of war, Jews and Roma were subjected to procedures without anesthesia, injected with unknown substances, and forced into total sensory deprivation, all in an attempt to break the soul and rebuild the being. SS officers wrote in their journals about spiritually purifying the German people through the suffering of others, a twisted philosophy that merged cruelty with transcendence. Hitler himself, though not directly involved in these rituals, believed that war functioned as a kind of global alchemy, a fire that would purify humanity as long as the victors controlled the flame. Beyond their obsession with hidden power, the Nazis also used mysticism as a tool of psychological control and propaganda, torchlit parades, minor key symphonies, monumental architecture aligned with the stars. It was all carefully designed. They wanted the masses to feel they were part of something larger, almost divine. To Hitler, politics was ritual. The stage was his altar, the people, his congregation. With the fall of the Third Reich, many of these documents were destroyed. Others were seized by the Allies. Some of the officials involved with the Ahnenerbe and Thule Society disappeared without a trace. A few went into hiding. Others were absorbed into enemy governments through operations like Paperclip and continued their research under different flags. Wewelsburg Castle was partially destroyed, but the infamous Black Sun Chamber, where SS rituals took place, survived. It still stands today as a chilling reminder that some horrors don't require tanks or guns to exist. All they need are symbols, belief, and silence. You might be asking yourself, was any of this real? The answer, some of it, yes. And some, we may never know. But what we do know through documents, photographs, testimonies, and ruins is this. Nazism wasn't just a war over territory or ideology. It was a war of spirit, a deliberate attempt to access forgotten, forbidden forces, forces that if they were ever real should have stayed buried. And perhaps that is the real fear, not that the Nazis believed in magic, but that somehow they may have touched it.